I want to recognize Mr. Honda. He's a representative of the Tillman family, and he asked me to hold this hearing. And I know he's talked to you, Mr. Tillman, and Mr. Tillman, but I want to recognize him to pursue any questions he wants to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you as the chair and ranking member Davis and the members of this committee for holding this hearing. It is a hearing that's been long awaited, but it's a hearing that was set aside until such time that all administrative procedures can be exhausted, and I think that the Tillmans have exercised a tremendous amount of restraint and patience. And to the family, I want to thank you for that. And also thank you for not giving up. And I guess there's a phrase that says you bring truth to power. I think now you'll give power to truth. And this is the pursuit that we're going after. And to Ms. Lynch and to Dr. Bowles, thank you for being here also. There was a initial comment with you, Kevin, about being there. The situation was, as I understand it, that the platoon was set up in two serials. Serial 1 where your brother was in, and Serial 2 is where you were assigned. And the firing took place, of which you probably heard, but did not take part in. Could you share with us that which happened step by step through that day and then the subsequent days until such time that you had become aware that your brother was killed by friendly fire?
Yes, sir. That's a long narrative, but I'll speed it up.
Yeah, it may be long, but I think it.
We had a broken down GMV, and we were stuck we were stuck in Megara for about 6 hours, and I'm not privy to any conversations for the PL or any of that stuff because I was on a turret gunner. It was a Mark 19,
right. And
long and short of it, they told the PL the decision was made to split the platoon up, one go to Mana, and the other take the broken down GMV up to the Hardball Road. So they took off. The first serial that Pat was in left about 10 minutes before we did, and then we followed suit. Well, someone made the decision not to go up that road because it was too difficult. Well, they traveled into it. Serial 1 traveled into a canyon. Serial 2 decided to follow right behind Serial into that canyon. So, and I actually saw the last vehicle enter into the canyon. I mean, I didn't really know what the plan was specifically, but you get a general feel. And long and short of it, we ended up following. I don't know how close, but I knew we were there. I was in the vehicle with a platoon sergeant in the rear of the element. So they went through. Pat's group went through and had no issues. We went through, and we at some point inside the canyon got hit. Well, as the serial exited the canyon, the first vehicle ended up engaging the Pat, the AMF soldier, O'Neill, and the whole that whole serial on the top right side, which was an entire squad in a village. By the time we pulled up, it was all said and done. So we pull up, and I'm just sitting down at the bottom. So after all that stuff happens, we ended up slowly working our way through, and I found out about 45 minutes later that Pat had died. And they didn't tell me how. They just told me, I asked them, where's Pat? Because I just didn't know where he was, and I didn't think about it at all. And then I just didn't hear him, and Pat's a very, you always know where Till is, And so I asked one of my NCOs, I said, where's Pat? And he wouldn't answer. Asked him again, and he told me. And about 5 minutes after that, they picked Pat up in a helicopter and took him away. Then they picked me up about an hour and a half later and took me away. And from that point, I was I wasn't with Pat's body, but I was in Salerno, then Bagram, and eventually I went back with Pat's body, to Germany, then to Dover, then back to San Jose, California. And then I found out about a month and 2 days later that it was in fact fratricide that got him, and it wasn't the enemy.
At the time of the shooting, when you asked what had happened, do you recall what the exact wording was that they shared with you? Do you remember?
It was very nebulous. Pat was running. He was outside by a village. He was running up a hill, and he essentially got shot dead on. And it made sense in my head because to the right, we were surrounded by hills. So it was real. There wasn't a lot of specifics to it, but I didn't really, just when that stuff happens, it's tough to process a lot of that stuff anyway. So it's like, okay, and your focus is the fact that they're gone, and that's your focus. And it was told very general. Yeah, he was with O'Neill. O'Neill told me he was they were running up the hill and they got shot. O'Neill was told not to tell me, and so I got a general. Private O'Neill was the one with Pat. He was told not to say anything, because I called him like, who was with Pat? I wanted to at least find out who was with him. I spoke with O'Neill. He told me generally what happened, but he eliminated pretty much everything. He just gave me a brief little synopsis, and that was that. I didn't press him very hard for whatever reason, and then I found out about a month and 2 days later.
Thank you, Mr. Honda. Mr. Mitchell, pleased to have you with us.